Hello, everyone, and welcome to this next episode of the Truth Shots with Kapil, the de-addiction series. I'm extremely glad to have with me Damini Grover today. Damini, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Kapil, for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you. Damini is a counseling psychologist, a life coach, and she's also the founder of Empowered Center for Counseling and Wellbeing in East Delhi, India. With a decade of experience in mental health, emotional health, she uses an eclectic therapeutic approach to empower clients globally. She has received prestigious awards, including the Spiritual Leader Award in 2020, the Best Mental Health Solutions Provider Award in 2022. Her articles have featured in leading publications, The Statesman, The Guardian, The Deccan Chronicle, The Elephant Journal, which reflects her passion for personal growth and empowerment. Beyond her professional pursuits, she is an avid reader, writer, dance enthusiast, inspiring others on their journey of self-discovery. She recently authored Time to Come Home, which was her third book, two of whom which are self-help, and one of them is actually, her expedition into poetry. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that as we move forward. Uh, Welcome, Damini. We are talking about de-addiction today. So, do you want to kind of talk about in the whole new world of modern behavioral addictions, such as gambling, internet use, social media? What do you think? I mean, where are people, and what sort of solution is available for them?
Um, well, see, addictions and various kinds of addictions have always been around. But it's just that now, the number has gone up significantly. And of course, we're seeing more of these things. It's more out in the open because there's, of course, social media and the conversations are there. But what's also happened is that, there's a shift. See, when we talk about any kind of addiction where you're latching on to something external, basically what you're doing is you are not able to handle your own emotions. There is difficulty in emotional regulation, and you kind of want to run away from the energy of that discomfort, right? So you are likely to pick up anything that gives you that instant relief. Now, in a lot of cases, of course, when you're coming from a dysfunctional background, there is a lot of stress and you are going through mental health issues, you see these kind of patterns emerging. But what has also happened now is that because we're living in this age where everything is so easily available to us, like our even our tolerance for any kind of discomfort, that has gone down substantially. So the minute I feel slightly uncomfortable, right, I don't have to come from a background of trauma. Actually, I don't have to be going through a mental health issue or some grave issue in my life. But even the slightest hint of discomfort, I want to run towards something that is going to give me that instant relief. So now we are living in that culture where everything is instant. We want it right now. We want to feel good right now, and we want to keep feeling good because everything is so easily available to us. So we're just grabbing onto whatever we can, and that's the shift. So again, but the bottom line is whether it is because of the easy availability of things or whether you're coming from any kind of a particular background, the bottom line is that our capacity for emotional regulation has gone down drastically. And even for people to actually invest in understanding their own emotional world, that is also getting compromised a lot because of so many things that are just easily available to us. So I think that
Mhm.
that is my whole take on the idea of getting into any kind of addictive patterns.
Right. I think so. In my research, in my view, along with the fact that things are so easily available to us, I think it is also the fact that we as a society have become extremely good at tabooing conversations. We don't let people get into uncomfortable situations as if something is drastically going to go wrong if they do. For me, that getting into uncomfortable situations, what I call as chaos, is what actually keeps you alive, is what actually gives you the resilience that you would require to go through whatever life throws at you. And I think somehow taking that away, and that's something that is starting right from the time somebody is born, all the way into their childhood and then into their teenage years and forward from there. I think that's a huge part of what's gone wrong and what's probably increased the need for people to create and look for different kinds of stimuli.
Absolutely. And I would say that this is actually the core issue. Because,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not that it's happened right now, we are able to see more of it now, but this has been prevalent for like donkey's years, really. Because the whole idea of how does a human being in general approach emotions or any kind of discomfort is by running away.
Yep.
So when you say that our capacity to get into chaos, to get into difficult conversations, that is not there. And most of us don't even want to build that,
Yep.
because the way we are brought up, the way the entire society is, like you said, it's just built on avoidance,
Yep.
right? So you feel uncomfortable, and the point is to do anything to shut it down. So either we are going to deny that no, nothing of that sort has happened, right? Either we are going to suppress what we are feeling, just sit over it and try and distract yourself and just wait for it to kind of go away on its own, and it kind of surfaces in different ways, right? And you see it happening in your home. You see it, like you said, right from the time we are born. This
Right.
starts to happen. The minute a
Mm-hmm.
child is uncomfortable and the child is crying, some or the other adult will just come, pick up the child and say, no, no, don't cry.
Yep.
They'll give a toy in the child's hand to distract the child from the pain or the discomfort. So that communication that needed to happen, that holding of space that needed to happen right there, so that the child could also understand how to contain the energy of that emotion, and how does the child really need to let it out properly, and make sure that the discomfort is being communicated to the person who's taking care. These
Yep.
three things just don't happen.
It's don't happen.
Right?
Absolutely.
So the child doesn't learn how to regulate. That's the whole point of regulating emotions, right? Where what is my thought process? What is my body trying to tell me? What do I need right now to soothe myself? Something that is constructive. Like you pick up anything and that can soothe you. But the point is that in the long run, is it conducive or not? Right? So that
Yep.
capacity for emotional regulation needs to start right from the time we are born. But the question
Ab-
is, who is going to give us that capacity? Because the people who are taking care of us, unfortunately, are also brought up with the same mindset. Don't
Sure.
cry, don't get angry. If you're sad, then clearly there is something wrong with you. You shouldn't be sad. You should always have it together. You should always be happy and chirpy and have everything under control. And there is so much of judgment that starts to happen the minute you're sort of not in control. When you're
Mm-hmm.
having a low day, when you're not feeling your best, you've done something wrong, so much of judgment, so much of criticism starts to come up. So
Yep.
we also then don't have an option but eventually to stay aloof from our entire emotional experience. But then the
Mm-hmm.
question is that what do you do with that emotion? It's not going to it's not a physical entity that you can remove from your body, right? There are actually chemical changes that are taking place in your brain, that energy is flowing all through your body. What are you going to do? And when you pick up something external to soothe yourself, just in that moment, of course you're feeling good in that moment, but you've not really learned anything. You've not
Absolutely.
even taken the time to assess whether the short term and the long term benefits of this particular act are actually going to be worth it. You've
Mm-hmm.
not done anything, you've just gone ahead and grabbed anything. So then at
Right.
the end of the day, the cycle just continues, and you just move from one substance to another, or the intensity and the frequency, everything just starts to go up. And all
Sure.
of this can kind of become a little centered if we become okay with really a very basic core concept, which is that it's okay to feel what you feel, and you need to have those conversations around it.
Mm-hmm. So, in the book, Time to Come Home, you talk about the impact of emotional and physical neglect during childhood and how these experiences kind of shape somebody's adulthood. So, how can adults heal from that childhood neglect and trauma, especially when it could lead to addictive behaviors?
Well, I wish I could give a very concise answer, or there were some quick tips that we could just throw around there. The thing is that it takes a lot of time, right? It's a whole process, and it's like an entire journey that you have to undertake. It's not something that you can do in just 2-3 months, or maybe like 1 or 2 weeks, and it's fine. Because it is about unlearning everything that you have come to learn and know about yourself, about the world, and learning a completely different way of being.
Sure.
Because see, the fact of the matter is that as our entire brain development is shaped by our experiences. The our thought process, the belief system that we are growing up with, how we learn to respond to our bodies, right? All of that is taking place as we are growing up in that environment. So by the time your personality, by the time you become 18 or 17, 18, yeah, you're on the verge of your adulthood, majority of your ideas are already formed. It's said that, by 7 to 8, the belief system is formed. Because
Mhm.
the human mind, when it's developing, when the child is growing, it's like a sponge, right? It's absorbing everything. You don't have any filters. And now you
Mhm.
take that understanding, that entire belief system out into the world, only to realize that, okay, a lot of things are not working. So, really, then it's about working on yourself at every level. So, understanding the background that you are coming from, and seeing the impact that it kind of has on you.
Hello.
Hello? Yeah, I
Yeah,
lost you there for a
I'm
moment.
so sorry. There was a electricity fluctuation on our side,
Yeah.
and the net count off. We can continue. We'll cut it, do the edit from there.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, the point is, see, when it comes to healing from that childhood neglect or trauma, as we call it, like I said, it's a process, it's a journey, and it would require you to work on yourself at really the core level. That, going back and understanding the environment that you have been brought up in, the ideas that you picked up, the kind of relationship that you ended up developing with yourself, with your body, with your emotions, right? And you rework all of those at every level, at the thought level, at the emotional understanding level, right? And then you bring about certain changes, or maybe a lot of changes in your physical life as well. Because we're really talking about rewiring everything, that you've known till now. So 18, 19 years you were living with something, and even more for that matter. It's not that right at 18 somebody will realize that, okay, this is a background that I'm coming from, and I need therapy and I need help. Sometimes people realize it at the age of 40. Now
Yep.
you've lived, majority of your life with a certain belief system, with, a certain set of dysfunctions defining your behavior your entire life. And now then you start to unpack it and change it. Of course, it's going to take time. So yes, going through therapy and your own healing process, there are various therapeutic interventions. That's of course one major part of it, right? You need someone to handhold you, to explain to you what has happened, and the impact that you're carrying, help you to kind of let go of all of that. But it doesn't stop there. It's on the person to then continue their journey and continue working on the various aspects of their well-being, to make sure that from this point onwards, their life feels more about themselves than anything else. Their behavior patterns, thought patterns are supporting their growth and well-being.
So, what role do you think technology can play in that? That's really one of the things that I'm very focused on, ensuring provide people with the kind of tech solution that they would require to take care of it, both from a mental wellness perspective or from a de-addiction perspective, or that matter from a overarching personal growth perspective.
See, I know that, there's a lot of divide, especially in the mental health field. A lot of debate actually on whether technology should be integrated or considered as a tool for helping people with mental health struggles or not. My personal thing is that, if anything helps, if anything works, you should definitely consider it. Number one, right? Number two, you need to see whether this is working for you or not, and that will always be a subjective judgment. So in
Sure.
my understanding, we of course we have therapy, we have all these mental health practitioners who are studying and working in the field. But if you also have technology that can be used as a support system, then why not, right? It doesn't have to be an either or kind of a thing. I have been using certain apps, say, just, at the very basic level, because they help me to track certain things, right? They take the mental load off of, maybe kind of, let's say, if I want to get into a basic meditative practice, or I want to become mindful of something, I want to start my day with affirmations.
Mhm.
There's a lot of mental effort that I need to put in, and I'm
Sure.
already doing a lot of things, right? So if I can have an AI tool or technology as a companion, then why not? Nobody is saying that, at least I'm not saying that it has to be a substitute for the real work that you need to put in. It is not a substitute for the real human connection that two people have, and the healing that comes about in that connection, because that is actually going to be the core of human relationships. So we are not changing the core. But all I'm saying is that if you just have another tool, then yes, why not? And technology, of course, like I know a lot of I tell about my clients about apps and stuff, and my clients are also very proactive. So many times they also come up and tell me that I was struggling with this particular behavior, but then this is how I ended up working on it, and they end up feeling very empowered when
Sure.
they are able to come up with a solution on their own. So
I,
in terms of personal growth and development, I think it's a great support system.
Yep. And I think the other question that we all need to look at is the challenge of scalability. I mean, however progressive we have become, we still are a country that is constrained by resources,
That's
uh,
true.
and constrained by the vastness of population that we have, which means the limitation of resources gets compounded further. So I think technology probably also needs to play a key role because it would provide that scalability.
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely there. Yeah, with
So,
the population that we
to-
have, the number of issues that are on the rise.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So to give you an example, when we started looking at de-addiction and we created the Prarambh Life program, the intention of the Prarambh Life program was we are never going to be able to have enough in treatment centers, enough behavior therapists, enough experts that would be able to provide de-addiction solution to the masses. To the elite class, okay, yes, but to the masses. And the government centers are just not equipped enough to be able to deal with all that. So we thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if there is a technology based program that people can use? Now, for some people, just the technology program may be fine, but for in at least from conceptually from our side, we have also integrated a whole bunch of psychologist sessions, therapy sessions, supplement support and other things within the program itself. And if it is used properly, I think there is a huge role that it can play in delivering the kind of solution at scale. That's one challenge that we were facing and we were trying to solve. The other thing, which is extremely important, is the fact that while there are people that are working on substance use addictions, there is really very little that is available for behavior addictions.
That is actually true, and this is a challenge that we also face. Like now, while I don't actively work with addictions, but of course they come up in our work as well, and we sometimes it's a huge challenge even for us. Like, okay, what's the right kind of resource? Where do I send this person for this kind of an issue, right? And because we know that we there aren't enough resources.
Absolutely. Well, in case of behavior addictions, I guess there isn't a solution. I mean, let me
Yeah.
blankly put it like that. Till we started Prarambh Life, I wasn't aware of a single reasonable solution. The only solution was there are probably handful of literally people that you could count on your fingertips, if you want to, that provide some kind of a support structure to deal with behavior addiction.
Yeah,
Uh,
that is true. That is true. And that's a constraint that even we face,
yep.
that, we don't have enough resources.
And with the kind of, I mean, if you look at the changing spectrum of Indian youth and what they spend their time doing all day, things like gaming addiction, things like gambling addiction, things like social media addiction are, really part of every household right now.
Absolutely. I know that there was a time when even I was struggling with it. I didn't realize when, it became a habit and it started, really going out of hand. So it's
Mhm.
like I said, everything is so easily available. You're just on so many things. It's very easy for you to, pick up any of these things and then just kind of get hooked onto it. So yes,
Yep.
finding a reasonable solution does become very challenging at times.
Yep. Well, the day Dream 11 becomes, the official sponsor, the largest sponsor of IPL, gambling is on the rise.
Absolutely.
Right. Anyway, and of course, on our side, the other important aspect, and I think I would like to hear your point of view on that as well. See, one of the aspects that I have always felt in the mental health area is mental health is about unlocking some doors that people probably don't look deep inside all the time. And if you are doing that, if you want them to deal with that in a language that may not be their primary language, it becomes a huge challenge. So
Mhm.
mental health support in all different forms need to be provided in Indian languages in India, or vernacular or local languages, or the mother tongue, as we all call it, for everyone. Uh, in your work, do you face that, or do you see that as a challenge?
Language as a barrier?
Yeah.
Yes, at times we do. But the thing is that I think I wouldn't say for me it has been a lot of an issue, because the population that we largely work with, either they speak English, or they're comfortable with at least one language, which is Hindi and English. Right? So we are able to cater to both. But yes, because we get a lot of calls and a lot of inquiries that come in. So there are times when people are reaching out to us. They're from different states, they're from different languages. They're keen to work with us, but we don't understand the language, so we really can't.
Right. Right.
Right? So
I was more talking about people that are bilingual, or can speak multiple languages, but when you converse with them, that they are not able to put right words around their thoughts, because they're probably thinking in Hindi, or thinking in Punjabi, and then on the fly translating it in English, and then
mm,
hearing the response from you in English, and on the fly translating it into.
ah,
So I was talking about challenge from the user,
that
of from
user perspective.
from the
Understood.
patient
Understood.
perspective of how do they have you seen people struggling and not being able to get the right kind of help with it?
I well, that's something I've not experienced so far. Language has that in that sense. Language has not been a constraint. So yeah.
Okay, great. For us, in our work, we saw it as a fairly significant area of concern, which is why
Ah,
the program that we have, we just launched it in Hindi, and of course, other languages are being worked upon as well. Now, let me change gears away from technology for a bit, and actually talk about. Can you talk? Do you have? So I know you use eclectic approach for your therapies. Do you involve people in creative activities like dance and art, and how do they help people combat emotional struggles for them?
oh, yes, I do that quite majorly. I'm very pushy, when it comes to using, telling people to basically engage their creativity as well as a part of healing, whether it's, pottery or sitting and painting. Somebody wants to do music or get into dance, even if they're not into any kind of creative pursuit. I make sure, that I am putting this thought in their mind, because getting into two things, getting your body moving, so any kind of exercise that you're getting into, and second, a creative pursuit, they really have tremendous healing benefits.
Sure.
And the way our society is, we kind of dismiss all of them. We think that, especially when it comes to creative pursuits, that they were good till we were in school, and they're just so-called extracurriculars. We don't have any room for them, or they don't have any merit in adult life. And unfortunately, it's happening even for kids these days, where the
Mhm.
focus is completely on studies, and leave this aside and make your career and all of that. But this is a hugely overlooked aspect. Like I said, it has these activities have tremendous healing benefits, because they not only lower your stress levels. Of course, they give you that relief when you're into that particular activity. They are helping your entire, your brain and body to calm down. The whole aspect of emotional regulation that we're talking about. So, like, you want to feel good, let's say, when you're feeling distressed. Now, for most people, why are they getting into addictions? Because in that moment, they just want to feel good.
Sure.
Right? What happens after that, of course, it's a different story altogether. And in that feeling good, the kind of activities that they're picking up, they also have damaging effects.
Sure.
Right? But when you're picking up something creative, it is channeling your energy in the right way. Right? It is helping you to understand your emotional patterns, letting go of that energy, so your brain and body ultimately become relaxed. They give you time to process your emotions as well. Right? So you can always circle back to certain things. Of course,
Mhm.
that immediate effect of feeling good is anywhere there. You're also building a skill. You're
Sure.
also working on your personal growth and development. Your confidence level goes up. Right? You start to feel good about yourself. If you're working on changing a unhealthy belief about yourself, or a dysfunctional belief, let's say that I'm not capable, and I cannot socialize, I cannot talk to people, I don't have anything good in me. When you start looking at yourself from these perspectives, start integrating these activities, your belief system also begins to shift.
Sure.
Plus, you are not just isolated in that sense, because most of us are now working online. Things are available, all over the internet. So of course our capacity to interact with people and be out there in the world, that has gone down. The opportunities have gone down. So the prevalence of loneliness and anxiety and depression have also gone up because of the fact that we are mostly isolated, right?
Sure.
But when you put yourself back into the real world with these kind of things, you are able to socialize. You're able to actually feel, quite, I would say, revitalized in the presence of the life force, really, when you're with other people. This is a chance for you to co-regulate as well. So there are so many benefits of engaging in creative pursuits, and they, of course, like I'll repeat, they have therapeutic benefits. It's not just for fun, or just for skill building. No, they have deeper benefits.
Mm-hmm. So, can you share a time from your own personal life when you used mental resilience to overcome a challenge?
There would be a lot of such situations, but I think one that kind of will always stand out for me, and I've spoken about it in both my books. Yeah, there are two instances actually. I'll talk about one. So, in when I entered college, which was in 2006, I think,
Okay.
in within the first month, I sustained a head injury, and because of that I kind of lost movement in my neck and my upper back and all of that, and I didn't get proper treatment for the longest time. It kind of snowballed into a lot of things, and
Mm-hmm.
then I ended up with two very very chronic issues which rendered me pretty much, I would say, immobile. And it went on for a very very long time. So from 2006 till about 2013 I went without much substantial help. And I'd become an insomniac, and I would have panic attacks, and my depression was at its peak. So getting anybody to understand, even for me to understand, and this is when I'm studying psychology, but even to understand what is happening within you, what kind of support do you need, like all of this was completely, I mean, challenging is still a doesn't have that much of gravity, because for like somebody who's just started their life, it
Mm-hmm.
felt like everything ended even before it started. If you can't move, what kind of a life are you actually going to dream about then? So
Bilkul.
that was the time when my strength at every level was challenged, and it kind of went on for many many years. uh, and I don't know how I coped with it. Of course, therapy was a huge help, because I at least had somebody who could understand and who could help me to understand how my physical issues are creating mental issues, and vice versa. Help me with coping strategies, that so that I don't fall into any other kind of behaviors or patterns that can be far more damaging, and help me to keep that hope and faith alive, that maybe one day I'll get out of it. And today I'm sitting here and talking to you about it, so that, I mean, I'm glad that this moment is here, because back then I didn't even know if I'll survive through all of this. So, and a
Sure.
lot of people have kind of supported me in my journey to get me to be physically functional. That's the key word, because I wasn't even that. I couldn't even eat, on my own. So I'm coming from that background. So, yeah.
Sure. Damini, that's a very, very inspiring story. I'm sure the audiences would hear that and they would know that they can get out of whatever is going on with them, whatever challenges that they are facing. Just like you've been able to overcome and be here in all this power. It's been a wonderful conversation with you. But before we end this particular session, anything that you would like to leave our audiences with as last thoughts from your side?
Well, being a mental health professional, I will always tell people that please, please take care of yourself, because you are the life force. Everything in your life is connected through you only. So your mental, physical, emotional well-being are extremely important, and you can only take care of others. You can only fulfill your roles, responsibilities, or be successful in life. Truly enjoy life only if you are in a good space in all these aspects. So you
Mhm.
do really need to get back to the fundamentals.
Perfect. That's a wonderful thought. Getting back to the fundamentals. On that note, Damini, thank you so much for being a part of this particular session. I hope the audiences had will have as much time listening to it as I have had conversing with you. And hope your center does really well and it grows and you get to help with, work with, heal many more people.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here, Kapil. It was a lovely conversation, and all the best to you also for all your endeavors. You're doing great work.
Thank you so much, Damini.